Trump voters are tired of being accused of racism and sexism. All right, let's check it out. Let's see where this takes us, guys. This is a suggestion via Discord. Being that it's on CNN, something to tell me this is going to be a really good debate based off the cast of people here. But let's jump into it.
I think I'm alone in this group. I think I'm kind of afraid to be alone in this group. I surveyed these people.
Okay.
I focus grouped them. And they are really, really tired of being accused of either racism or sexism because they voted for Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's a little silly, guys.
And it's one of the reasons why so many of them did. I sat on this stage with you and got chewed out when I suggested there's a better language to reach out to voters, that the Harris campaign is missing what they're looking for. And I say the same thing here. Americans just want to be Americans, not hyphenated Americans.
Not all Americans want that. A lot of Americans like the victimhood that comes from the hyphens, let's say.
Not female Americans, Black Americans, Jewish Americans. They just want to be Americans.
How do you think it makes people feel, Black people, women, any person who has immutable characteristics about themselves, to be told every time that something happens, that because they exist in a particular role, it is their fault?
Terrible. Period. Terrible.
That something happens, that because they exist in a particular role, it is their fault. How does it make them feel?
Like how she framed it? Terrible.
How does it make people feel when they're told that they're a racist?
No. I mean, answer. But answer my question.
I am, because these are predetermined considerations.
No.
You're
assuming.
Oh, that's a rough one there, bro. Where are we going with this?
You're telling me I'm
Do you want an answer?
Well, you're not answering my question. You're telling me.
Yes, I'm trying to.
You were telling me that
your response is in bad faith. I mean, what she is saying.
I would not say it's bad faith, though. Okay, he's coming from his specific perspective, but I think that in correlation to what she just said here. All right, let's get
You were telling me that
your response is in bad faith. I mean, what she is saying is something you're not responding to, because it doesn't address why Donald Trump immediately went to DEI as an explanation without any evidence whatsoever for what looks to be an inexcusable and certainly a very devastating and tragic plane and helicopter crash a couple of days ago. And instead, you pivot to talk about how terrible it is that some people who voted for Donald Trump are being called racist and sexist. You're refusing to grapple with the central tension.
My understanding.
Frank, it's an option.
Hold on.
Frank, it's an option for Trump.
Because my understanding is of the voter.
Frank,
that is what I do.
It is an option.
What about the immorality
and
the incompetence
Frank,
of blaming DEI for what happened?
You guys can all jump on me. That's fine.
No. I'm not jumping on you. I'm trying to have a conversation.
He's offensive, and obviously I understand why he's offensive. He's in a room full of people who just like, to the depths of them, are going to disagree with every single thing that he says here. I'm waiting for him to actually make the point so I can kind of latch onto it and to kind of see exactly if it's valid within my eyes, at least, guys. But I can imagine if you are being told that you are all these things all these times, the last thing you want to do is vote for the people that are telling you these things.
Option for Donald Trump.
What happened?
You guys can all jump on me. That's fine.
No. I'm not jumping on you. I'm trying to have a conversation with you. Okay, look.
This is going to be
it
a
is
very
an option
good
for Donald Trump
debate.
to respect his voters and not scapegoat race in a situation like that. He chooses not to every time. Why?
He is saying, and I do not defend him, and I've not defended him on this program, because there are things that are more important than Republican and Democrat, and it's why some people lost primaries and some people are not members of Congress anymore. I'm trying to tell you the truth.
Look, you don't have to listen. I just want.
Bro, let him talk.
My primary, but you don't have to lecture me.
Hold on.
Oh my God, bro!
I mean, if you're gonna throw shots,
just a second. Let me let him finish.
This is why this show is such a challenge for me, because I really am, and I've been on this show and criticized him many times. I've been on this show and praised him. In the end, how do we get beyond how we look? How do we get beyond how we sound? Because in the end, we all have a right to a point of view, and I respect yours, regardless.
I just don't respect the gaslighting and the bad faith conversation.
I also think you cannot talk.
Bro, you're too emotional. All right, get this man off of this table. Like, if we cannot have a conversation without someone getting completely angry, then we can never actually have a conversation. This is why these conversations generally end up going nowhere, because everyone is sitting here emotional. Remove their emotion. let's just exclusively deal with these situations with logic, because everyone has an emotional angle, and these emotional angles are completely ruining the actual conversation that America needs to have with itself, guys.
Yeah, I just don't respect the gaslighting and the bad faith conversation.
I also think you cannot talk about getting beyond all of those things, race, hyphens, whatever it is, when at the highest offices of the land, you have someone saying, because there is diversity, there is a lack of merit, there is a lack of quality, there is a lack of experience. That is a racist view that people.
The only thing that she just said that matters literally is the concept of merit. We only need to live basically pretty much off of merit. If you do not deserve to be in the position that you are currently in, but you were put in there due to some other outside factors, you're pretty much deteriorating the actual position you're in.
There is a lack of experience. That is a racist view, that people who have characteristics that they cannot change about them, that don't tell you anything about their intellect, about their experience, are by definition not experienced. Do you understand that?
I do, because I listen to this. I hear this, and I internalize it. And for those who feel like they're being marginalized, we have to do more. I agree with you.
It's not even just about being marginalized. It's just about recognizing
I just said I agree with you.
I know, I'm saying, but look, I'm not trying to use academic. I'm not trying to use academic language to talk about this. I'm just saying that there are people. Look, a couple days ago, there was a Harvard-educated Olympic track star was told that she wasn't qualified to have gone to Harvard, that she was basically a DEI admit to Harvard.
Okay.
I mean, that just from a human perspective,
wrong.
that is
we
wrong.
all agree
right?
that's wrong.
May I ask you a question about this?
We all agree with that, but there's nothing I can say to you on this panel for any of you that's going to satisfy you.
May I ask you a question about this?
That's the problem.
So you're saying...
He's actually right. Like, he is completely in a hostile environment. Guys, Harvard acceptance is incredibly hard here, guys, right? If that person got in, their grades warranted it. Period.
American.
Just like the pilot. Like, you can, like, you know how hard it is to become a pilot, bro, right? You are in a position of having to pass and having all the hours that you actually need to be able to do the job in itself, right? Get hired for it. That's just the reality, guys. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do. And if you have passed and have your pilot's license, right, then you're completely fine with flying anything.
Felt alienated by the way Democrats talked about
and
some of these
bounds.
things.
Yes.
Okay, but do you think that this is the antidote? That I think that's the question here. I mean, you can be critical of terms that Democrats have used, but it's not clear to me how this approach is better. In fact, it seems exponentially worse to be scapegoating, whether it's hyphenated Americans or otherwise, any group of Americans for this tragedy, to be purging government data from websites under the guise of DEI.
Guys, we're talking past each other.
And rooting out wokeness. I guess that's where I think there's a bit of a disconnect here. It's like...
I agree with you.
Okay.
I agree with you. You're probably surprised.
We're not even talking about the same
goal
things.
in all of this. How do we get to the point when we are judged by our merit, when you're judged by our performance? I've had two experiences. Number one is my house almost burned down in Brentwood. I wasn't even there to see it. And I want the best people possible to be on the front lines fighting that fire. I landed 55 minutes before this plane landed. I could have been on it. So I feel it. I hear this and I get it. And you're correct and you're correct. The question is, do we beat up on it and yell about it and complain? Or do we try to get a solution? Do we try to get beyond it? And the problem is, there's nothing I can say that's going to convince you.
But in order for us to get beyond it, Donald Trump and the woke right, they have to stop talking about it. The reason that we're talking about it is because it was a deliberate decision that the Trump administration made. I would much rather be talking about the economy and some of the other things that I know that the Donald Trump administration is going to do, but we're not in the now second week of the Trump administration. We are ending it talking about DEI because this was a decision that they made.
And to be clear, our discussion of it is not out of nowhere. It's not something we created out of whole cloth. It doesn't mean that we're harping on something that the American people would rather we not talk about. It is responding directly to something that happened.
And the only person who, to your point, injected race into this is Donald Trump. We could be having a very normal investigation into a national tragedy, comforting these families. But this is the conversation that not only do they want to have, but they are making it the only conversation around what happened here. And that is not just wrong from a moral perspective, but it's also a missed opportunity to keep Americans safe.
Well, both the president and Secretary Hegseth, I believe, said in that press conference in the briefing room that elevation was probably the issue here.
Right,
it seems to be the case with the helicopter. And to your point, I mean, they were likely right in the moment, immediately after. And here it has been completely hijacked by something else. I think, though...
That's a nice use of the passive tense.
Can I just say one thing about that, just because we just had a whole conversation about this crash. The elevation is a fact, right? They were at the wrong elevation. The question is, and what the investigation will find out, is what actually caused that to happen. And yes, he did say, oh, the elevation is the problem, but then he said it's because of DEI and because of a lack of standards as a result of diversity initiatives. So Trump is diagnosing the problem by saying that the blame is actually on this thing that we don't know had anything at all to do with it.
Right, which is the part where I said then he hijacked the point that he was trying to make about the...
Yeah, listen, I'm sure we can basically all admit here that this is very troubling. It is. It has nothing to do with anything. Again, the standards required to do that, to do the job in the first place, are so high that it wouldn't matter who they would have chosen. Guys.
The elevation, but Frank, you're the master of language, so you probably have a better way of articulating this than I do. The conversation that I do think needs to be taking place in this country, and unfortunately Donald Trump uses DEI as the euphemism for it, is we have lowered standards across the board.
In fact,
we have lowered standards across the board in the name of entertainment, in the name of whatever, and
mainly gender equality. That's mainly that. It's not so much like we're lowering the standards for people who look visually different. No, it's mainly to because there are a lot of positions that women would have never been able to get into if we didn't lower the standard. Period. Like there's just no way to achieve like some of the strength requirements, let's say, for a woman.
Across the board in the name of entertainment, in the name of whatever. And it's happening. It's happening in education. It's happening in sports. It's happening in the workplace. And that is a conversation that I think is legitimate and needs to be had.
All
right, guys. Whoa. I think this is a good conversation. I'm not sure we ended up with any type of like solution to these problems because, again, no one can really come up with solutions. Now, I'm sure if you are on one side of the table being told that you're all of these things and you know within you that you are not these things, but the other side just says by default you are these things, right? I can imagine how that's not a thing that you're going to want to partake in, guys. That's just the reality of the situation. Now, on the other hand here, I am not someone who believes, at least, that because this person was a Black American, that was the reason why the issue happened. That's just hearing that sounds wild. Okay, maybe it was put differently, potentially, but you guys never sent me that video. Maybe you should send me that video. I want to see it. So I can grasp it and then kind of come to terms with it and add some validity to it or take validity from it. Now, I do have a Part 107 pilot's license, guys, for drone flying. And I know if my drone flying license was that hard to, guys, I know if it was that hard for me to get, okay, I can only imagine, right, what these other pilots are having to go through here, guys. Okay, just to be fully aware of that. So this is why I'm kind of in the camp of saying, listen, guys, if you have the license, I don't care what you look like, you're pretty much fine, like pretty fine, right? That's it. Now, could he have been chosen exclusively to fit a narrative? I don't know, maybe, but like just be fully aware. He was trained and skilled enough to do this. It's not someone who's unskilled for the task. This is also the reason, most likely, why the pilot, there was 2 pilots, guys. There was a female pilot, and the reason why the family do not want her information put out there, because she already knows, the parents already know that as soon as her name gets released, she's going to be blamed because she's a woman. People are going to find some way to do it, right? Well, that's why you had a woman flying the plane. I smell it, right? And I think the family of the woman also smells it. Let's say, interesting times, guys. Not every single person is trash, guys, right? Not every single person is that. Period, guys. We need to come to the realization of that. There are people that have different political ideologies because maybe they're just at different stations in their life, guys, right? The things that matter to them are things that are generally, I don't know, not uber progressive. So why put blame on an entire ilk in this context? It's irrelevant, guys, completely. Why do that? Let people live. Let people have different opinions. I think the differences of opinions is generally what makes everyone better in the first place, guys. Imagine if everyone was the same. It's silly, guys, completely. Like, I know how I sit, right? I would personally say that I'm probably somewhere in the middle, right middle, generally. On certain issues, I'm probably a little bit more right, let's say. But then on other issues, I am not at all, guys. I don't like our healthcare system. I don't like it at all. I liked Bernie Sanders, guys, right? I am one of those guys back in the day. Right? I also live on a different continent half the year, and in Spain, politically, I am completely different, I'd say. So just understand, like everything is basically a spectrum of things. I'm not trying to say that because we're in 2025 and everyone talks about a spectrum of things, right? I'm just telling you, not everyone is just one singular thing. That's the reality of the situation here, right? I, like everyone else, just want massive amounts of change. We need to change things. This is why Trump won this time. Trump won because he offered change, bro. He was an establishment candidate. No one likes not the establishment. He was not an establishment candidate. No one likes establishment candidates, bro. These are all the status quo type of people. There are, in fact, establishment Republicans. There are establishment Democrats, and they're basically the same. These are the same people that argue in Congress all day long, right? And then on the weekends, they go to each other's barbecues while their constituents are sitting there yelling at each other, cursing at each other, hating each other, basically on the internet. That's the reality of the situation here, guys. They are basically the same thing, but slightly different. Establishment is establishment. We need someone that can shake things up, and this is why Trump's in office. Shake everything up. Shake the whole tree, bro. Fix everything. Fix it, Jesus. Right? Fix it now. Guys. So it doesn't surprise me. But I definitely am not like super partial to the statement though, about him being a DEI pick, right? Because again, to get that pilot's license, that means he's qualified. You get what I'm saying here? He's qualified to do it, to be there. He's qualified to be in that position, period, guys. But either way, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly. Go ahead and yell at me in the comments, guys. It's completely fine. And guys, we are coming up to 1 million subscribers. If you guys can please hit the subscribe button, like button. We're trying to get to that hopefully by next month. Help me out, guys. I'll catch you guys later. The fact that you just made it to the end of the video says a whole lot, actually. We have a couple other channels. MrLboyd Music, MrLboyd Movie Reacts, along with MrLboyd Discusses, where I just generally speak about the things that specifically matter to me. But in the meantime, I'll catch you guys later.